You can see this is what he's so good at, surviving the clear out. He's so strong over the ball. His ability to survive, there's 2, 3 for him, and he still survives there and be able to hang on to the ball, and that's why he's won the penalty.
Hello everyone, and welcome back to Rugby Chopper. David Pocock isn't your typical Wallaby story. While most rugby players carve out careers on the pitch before fading into coaching or media, Pocock took a sharp turn. After dominating breakdowns and causing headaches for opposition teams, he stepped off the field and into the halls of Australian Parliament. It's a move that left many scratching their heads. How did a rugby enforcer become a senator? His journey wasn't just about sport or politics, it was about standing up for what he believed in. Pocock's career was marked by a mix of physicality and principle, from his relentless work at the breakdown to his public stances on environmental issues. But that wasn't the whole story. What happened next would shock everyone.
Run for no one in front of him for a moment. Then there was a Sekope Kepu, and penalty this time to the Wallabies.
Pocock wasn't the biggest bloke on the field. He was about 6 feet and leaned for a forward, but he made up for it with timing and sheer determination. Opponents hated playing against him because he'd rip the ball from their hands like a dog with a bone. That breakdown dominance became his trademark, and he earned a reputation as one of the toughest open sides Australia's ever seen. But while his game was brutal, his head was always elsewhere. Off the field, he was known for speaking up on issues others wouldn't touch. He got himself arrested protesting against coal mining and climate destruction, not exactly the typical Wallaby way. That kind of stand made him both respected and a bit of a pain for the rugby establishment. Still, few could deny his loyalty to the sport. Even when he was pushing causes, Pocock never shirked his Wallabies duties. His leadership on the field and off, it made him stand apart. But leaving rugby for politics? That move caught most by surprise. The shift from rugby to politics wasn't something Pocock stumbled into. He planned it carefully, bringing the same discipline and focus he showed on the field into his campaign. Running as an independent in the act, he pitched himself as someone who challenged the usual party politics and fight for real change. His main platform was clear: climate action, transparency, and putting communities first. It wasn't just talk either. His history of activism backed up his promises. That connection between what he believed in and what he stood for gave him an edge with voters tired of the same old political games. Winning a Senate seat was no small feat. He beat an incumbent from the Liberal Party, which is tough for any independent, let alone a former athlete. That victory cemented Pocock's place as more than just a rugby star who'd wandered off. He was now a serious player in Australian politics. Pocock's entry into politics wasn't just about headlines. It was a real shift in focus. Unlike many athletes who jump into politics and fade fast, he's been deliberate and hands-on. He's pushed for policies that reflect his values, especially around the environment and social justice, even when it meant ruffling feathers on both sides of the aisle. His reputation for discipline and integrity followed him from the pitch into the Senate chamber, where other politicians might bend under pressure. Pocock sticks to his principles. That kind of grit, no fancy talk, just straight up resolve, has earned him respect from unlikely quarters. Still, the transition wasn't seamless. Politics is a different game, with different players and rules. But Pocock's ability to read situations, make smart calls, and stay calm under fire showed that some skills from rugby translate well beyond the field. Before politics, Pocock's activism had already set him apart in the rugby world. His arrest at an anti-coal protest wasn't just a headline grab, it was a statement. He wasn't willing to stay silent on issues he cared about, even if it meant risking his career. That kind of stand made him a bit of an outlier among teammates and rugby officials. Pocock also used his platform to challenge the traditional ideas of masculinity in rugby. Instead of just the usual tough guy image, he talked openly about mental health and vulnerability, things rarely discussed in the sports locker rooms. That honesty helped change the conversation around what it means to be a rugby man in Australia. Looking back, it's clear Pocock's path was never just about rugby or politics alone. It was about staying true to a set of values and having the courage to act on them no matter the cost. That's what makes his story worth telling. Pocock's political rise also highlights how sport and activism can intersect in unexpected ways. Few athletes make the leap from professional sports to elected office, and even fewer carry the weight of real political change. But Pocock managed to bridge those worlds by keeping his message clear and grounded. His story challenges the stereotype of athletes as only focused on games and glory. Instead, he's a reminder that sporting heroes can be serious agents of change willing to put their reputation on the line for causes bigger than themselves. Now, as a senator, Pocock faces new challenges. The rough and tumble of politics demands patience and strategy, qualities he's been developing since his days in the rugby trenches. Whether he can make a lasting impact remains to be seen, but one thing's for sure, he's not playing by anyone else's rules. Pocock's approach to politics is still shaped by his rugby mindset, relentless preparation, teamwork, and facing down challenges head-on. But unlike on the pitch, this game isn't won by brute force alone. It's about negotiation, persuasion, and patience. He's been careful to avoid the typical party politics drama, focusing instead on issues that resonate with everyday Australians. Climate change, transparency, and community well-being top his agenda. Topics he's talked about since before his political career began. What makes Pocock's story compelling isn't just the career change, it's how he's brought the same commitment and intensity from rugby into a completely different arena. Few expected the tough Wallaby to turn into a thoughtful, principled senator, and that's why people keep watching. David Pocock's story isn't about walking away from rugby, it's about using everything he learned from the game to take on something bigger. He's proven that athletes don't have to fade into the background once their playing days are over. If anything, his real work started after the final whistle. He's still the same man who fought for every inch on the field, just in a different arena now. The jersey's off, the boots are hung up, but the mindset hasn't changed. Discipline, conviction, and purpose still drive everything he does. From Wallaby warrior to elected senator, Pocock has taken one of the most unexpected and gutsy paths in modern sport. Whether you agree with his politics or not, one thing's clear: he's not here to play by anyone else's rules. And he never was.